Just 9 minutes of a fast-paced cartoon shown to 4-year-olds reduces attention span after viewing, impairs memory, reduces ability to delay gratification, and increases aggressive behavior. We've talked a lot in previous videos about early childhood media exposure, but I want to take that last bullet point right there and turn the page also into older children. Increasing aggressive behavior. The big debate, do video games make children more prone to violence? Before I read the rest of the report on this study, I want to mention that a straw man argument has been put out about this, where people emotionally react and they say, when the mass shooting happens, oh, it's the video games to blame, and shoot 'em up violent video games are definitely going to cause all these mass shooters. And the problem with that approach is there are so few mass shooters. And there's a lot of gang violence, but when it comes to the publicized mass shooter event, yeah, it is interesting. A disproportionate number of them are playing the violent video games, but the correlation between the millions of people playing those games and the very few number who engage in the mass shooters is something that you really ought to take caution when it comes to that argument. But I am interested in the question still. Do video games make children more prone to violence than they otherwise would be if they weren't playing violent video games? Researchers conducted a thorough meta-analysis of 24 studies from locations around the world from 2010 to 2017 with more than 17,000 participants ages 9 to 19 years old. Now, when you're looking at a meta-analysis that covers 17,000 participants, this is going to be rock solid, and the results are in. They found that children who play violent video games show an increased tendency toward physical aggressive behavior. Pause right there. What do you mean by physical aggressive behavior? Is it always an antisocial, violent aggressive behavior, or is it boys being boys in healthy and appropriate ways? And the answer to that is some of each. And so when I see that some increase in the violent behavior is happening when we're playing violent video games, I say, well, I want to avoid that. And by the way, don't we just as Christians say that we don't want to participate in that which is not pure and true and beautiful and lovely, admirable, excellent, and praiseworthy? Philippians 4 verse 8. If I'm hating in my heart, Jesus said it's the equivalent of the violating the commandment against murder. And Paul says in one of those famous lists of sins in Romans 1, there's this kind of sin and this kind of sin, and then there's those who approve of these sins. And when I'm entertained by Hollywood entertainment or violent video games, do you see Jesus participating in that? Come on, let's just be honest as Christians. Now, if you're looking at this not as a Christian, you're more just interested in the research on this. I'm going to get back to that now. But do watch the other video about the monkey's brain while it was eating the peanuts versus watching the peanuts being eaten, because what we see with our eyes, our brain actually takes it in as if we are doing it ourselves, not merely seeing it. It's called mirror neurons. So that is a factor. But something about the violent video games to think about here is when Victoria Dunkley did her research for her book, Reset Your Child's Brain, she points out that actually the majority of the mental health disruptions and the lack of self-regulation that occurs because of media exposure is simply because the media is overstimulating. If you add violence to the media, games, movies, whatever, that does increase the stimulant effect and increase the likelihood for the child to have dysregulation of emotions and lack of self-regulation, self-control. But really, it's not just the violence in the video games that's the problem. It's that we're enhancing the limbic system, reducing the executive function of the frontal lobe, so we have less self-control at any age, actually. It's not just youth, but children are in that developmental window where their brain is still developing. We want to protect that. If they want to go on, they're adults and play whatever and watch whatever, that's their choice. But they're under our care. It's our responsibility to give them the greatest advantages we can. And screen-free childhood does that. You have plenty of green environments, outdoor experiences, as I've mentioned in previous videos, all the good things that God created for childhood to be. And green environments, Dr. Dunkley has found, reduce aggressive acts, increase attention span, and increase impulse control. That's 3 ways of saying the same thing. Being outdoors, nature exposure, and labor out there especially, but even just going camping and things like this, improve the frontal lobe, and they help rebalance that brain so that young person can have more self-control and not be engaging in as much outbursts of passion, of aggression, of anger, or even in some cases physical violence and attacks, which are rare. And so I don't want to overstate the case to be made. You know, if you just get rid of violent video games, you haven't solved the problem entirely. You want to protect children from overstimulating screen time and fill their lives with something better. So hopefully you've learned something helpful here. Watch the rest at beltoftruth.tv. Watch the Media Mind seminar and the Media on the Brain seminar. You'll learn all about the effects of media and how we can do things better and give our kids the ultimate advantage, the best life, the happiest life we can.